At just 22 years old, Jude Bellingham did something that shocked people inside English football. He finally spoke about the pressure and about the people who made it unbearable. Not publicly, not on camera, but behind closed doors, according to insiders, Jude admitted that his rapid rise came with conflicts, silent tensions, and moments he was never prepared to face at such a young age. Why would a player hailed as the future of England feel cornered so early in his career? What really happened inside dressing rooms where expectations turned into weapons? And who were the figures that pushed him to the edge, without ever being named? Sources describe an atmosphere filled with unspoken rivalries, power struggles, and decisions that left deep marks. What looked like leadership on the pitch was, off it, a constant battle for control and respect. And with that, we come to the heart of the story. 5 names, 5 stories, each one revealing a side of Jude Bellingham the public was never meant to hear. Number 5, authority without dialogue. Number 5 came from inside the system, a senior figure within the England setup, experienced, respected, untouchable. According to insiders, this person viewed Jude Bellingham less as a young player to protect and more as a tool to be hardened. Publicly, the relationship looked professional. Privately, it felt unbalanced. Jude was corrected constantly, not just for mistakes, but for expression, tone, and presence. Witnesses recall moments after matches where Jude was addressed differently from others. Veterans were allowed emotion. He was expected to absorb everything in silence. Questioning decisions, even calmly, was quietly discouraged. The tension peaked during a difficult international camp. England struggled, pressure mounted, and Jude, despite his age, was placed at the centre of responsibility. When he raised concerns about a tactical call, the response was cold and immediate. This wasn't his role. This wasn't his moment. No argument followed, just distance. After that exchange, those close to Jude noticed a shift. He spoke less. He listened more. Not because he agreed, but because he understood the boundaries. Authority had drawn a line, and crossing it came with consequences. The damage wasn't public. It was internal. Trust eroded. What had been framed as guidance became restraint. And Jude learned an early lesson of elite football. Sometimes survival means staying quiet, even when you see things clearly. Number 4, the veteran who drew the line. Number 4 was a veteran presence, a player whose voice carried weight, not because of form, but because of years earned inside elite dressing rooms. According to insiders, the tension didn't start with an argument. It started with contrast. Jude arrived with intensity, questions, urgency. The veteran represented order, hierarchy, and patience, or at least the appearance of it. What Jude saw as responsibility, others read as disruption. Witnesses remember moments in training where Jude pushed standards higher, demanded sharper tempo, quicker reactions. The response wasn't confrontation, it was resistance, subtle comments, raised eyebrows, a quiet reminder that leadership had an order, and Jude was skipping steps. The situation escalated during a difficult run of matches. Frustration spread. Voices rose. In one closed-door moment, Jude challenged a lack of accountability. The veteran intervened, not angrily, calmly, firmly. This was not the way things were done. That exchange ended the debate. Afterwards, the atmosphere shifted. Jude wasn't excluded. He was contained. His influence limited. His urgency tolerated, but never embraced. Those close to him noticed how he adjusted. Less insistence, fewer confrontations, more restraint. The consequence wasn't open conflict. It was separation. What Jude learned from number 4 was simple and brutal. Experience protects itself. And when youth threatens established order, it's not noise that stops it. It's silence. Number 3, the rival born inside the spotlight. Number 3 wasn't older. He wasn't louder. He was closer than anyone expected. According to insiders, this conflict grew quietly between 2 players competing for influence, not position. Both were seen as leaders, both trusted by staff. and both aware that English football rarely allows two centres of gravity to exist at the same time. At first, it looked like healthy competition. Training intensity increased, standards rose. But witnesses describe a subtle shift. Conversations shortened, trust became selective, small moments, a gesture, a decision, a look, started to carry weight. The tension surfaced during a high-profile match. Jude took responsibility, stepped forward, demanded more urgency. The response from the other side was silence, not agreement, not support. Silence that spoke of disagreement without confrontation. Behind the scenes, insiders recall a moment that crystallized everything. A tactical discussion. Two different visions. Only one was acknowledged. The message was clear. Alignment mattered more than conviction. After that, distance replaced cooperation. Jude didn't escalate. He recalibrated, focused inward, reduced interaction. What could have become an open rivalry turned into parallel paths that never truly crossed again. The consequence was subtle, but lasting. Trust was fractured, influence redistributed. Jude learned that competition at the elite level isn't always loud or visible. Sometimes it's quiet, and once it turns silent, it's already decided. Number 2. The decision that was never explained. Number 2 wasn't a person on the pitch. It was a decision made above it. According to insiders, this conflict centered around a tactical call that directly affected Jude's role at a critical moment. Publicly, it was framed as strategy. Privately, it felt like a message, a reminder of who ultimately controlled the narrative. Witnesses recall the confusion. Jude had been consistent, influential, vocal. Then, suddenly, his responsibilities shifted without explanation. Not reduced, redirected, subtly, quietly. Enough to be felt, but never discussed openly. Behind closed doors, Jude sought clarity. Not confrontation, just understanding. The response, insiders say, was vague, non-committal, almost dismissive. Trust the process, focus on your job. The conversation ended before it began. That moment marked a shift. From then on, Jude stopped expecting transparency. He executed instructions precisely, but the connection was broken. What once felt like mutual trust turned into distance. Communication became one way. The consequence wasn't anger, it was detachment. Those close to Jude noticed how he adjusted. Fewer questions, less emotional investment, more control. The system kept functioning, but something human was lost in the process. Number 2 taught him a harsh truth. In elite football, explanations are optional, and when they disappear, so does trust. Number 1. The weight placed on one name. Number 1 wasn't a single person. It was a role forced onto one. According to insiders, Jude Bellingham didn't just become a key player, he became a symbol. At a moment when English football was searching for direction, too much responsibility settled on his shoulders. Leadership, balance, momentum, belief, all quietly assigned to someone barely into his 20s. Witnesses recall how expectations shifted almost overnight. When England played well, Jude was praised as the engine. When things stalled, his influence was questioned. Not directly, never openly, but through tone, selection choices, and subtle pressure. Behind the scenes, insiders describe moments when Jude was encouraged to set the standard without being given real authority to shape decisions. He was expected to lead, but only within boundaries drawn by others. Responsibility without control. The breaking point came during a high-stakes period when performances dipped. Eyes turned to Jude again. Not in accusation, in expectation. He absorbed it, said nothing, carried on. The consequence was invisible to the public, but profound. Jude stopped seeing leadership as empowerment. It became burden, a role to survive, not embrace. Number 1 revealed the harshest truth of all. Sometimes the greatest conflict isn't with an opponent. It's with the weight placed on your name. The real turning point didn't happen on the pitch. It happened in private. According to insiders, after a tense period filled with questions, pressure, and silent judgment, Jude Bellingham finally said something he had never said before. Not to the media, Not to fans, but inside a closed circle where words were not meant to travel further. I'm not built to carry this alone. Those who heard it were caught off guard, because Jude had never complained, never pushed back publicly, never exposed the weight placed on him. His silence had been mistaken for acceptance. That sentence changed how people around him saw everything that came before. The distance, the restraint, the emotional control. It wasn't arrogance, it wasn't immaturity, it was self-preservation. The twist is this: Jude didn't lose belief in himself. He lost belief in the environment. From that moment on, insiders say Jude made a quiet decision. He would still perform, still lead when asked, still deliver. But he would no longer give access to everything inside him. The smile stayed, the game stayed, but something closed, and once it closes, it rarely reopens. After everything, Jude Bellingham didn't walk away. He stayed. He continued to play at the highest level, continued to deliver under pressure, continued to be presented as a symbol of strength and maturity. From the outside, nothing appeared broken, but insiders say the damage wasn't visible. It was internal. The conflicts, the silences, the unspoken expectations reshaped how Jude relates to the game and to people around it. Trust became conditional. Leadership became calculated. Emotion became something to manage, not express. Today, Jude is more controlled than ever, more precise, more guarded. He understands the cost of openness in elite football, and he pays it by keeping parts of himself protected. The system still benefits from his talent, but it no longer has full access to him. And that may be the true aftermath of this story. Because Jude Bellingham didn't break, he adapted. And it shows that in modern football, the greatest battles are not always fought on the pitch. Some are fought quietly, in rooms without cameras, where voices are lowered, truths are buried, and survival matters more than honesty.